updates about the AWS Restart program locally?
Yes, so we have finished 2 cohorts now, 2 batches, and we have more than 250 plus graduates. With our 2 cohorts, what we are happy to share is that there are learnings along the way. So we finished our 2nd cohort and our retention has improved, and now we're getting more focus of like, let's not just have more recruits and more people jumping into the learning. We want also them to be open to new opportunities, which is getting employment, having to start their career. So that's what we finished with 250 plus graduates right now. The stories of Christian and Claudio, we don't want it to be one-off. We want it to be the standard for every cohort. So right now, we're opening our 3rd cohort, which is going to start in a week's time. So with 250 plus, our goal here in the Philippines, let's go for 700 plus of graduates. So with this 3rd cohort, out of 250, yes, that's for Filipinos, right? So for our Filipino learners, we're opening our 3rd cohort, and the target is we want to recruit 300. So you see a big jump out of the first 2 batches that we finished. And yes, with that plus 300, that's more Filipinos getting skilled, more Filipinos qualifying to start a career. And we all know when one is actually in a job, it represents a family. So 300 more families that we are going to inspire with a new cloud job.
That sounds very exciting. See, you listen to the applause. It's very exciting now. At this point, we've heard a lot. I've learned a lot, definitely. But I'd like to open the floor now for questions from our friends from the media. In case you all have any questions there. I think, yes, I saw a raised hand. But we have a microphone for that. I think we need to borrow one of the microphones. Thank you very much, Christian. Here you go.
Hi, I just want to ask, based on recent figures, AWS has already reached 6 out of the 29 million target number of recipients of its cloud computing training. By 2025, in the next 3 years, it will need to reach 23 million more to meet its goal. Is the program on schedule? Are there any barriers, whether it's limited awareness of the program or physical challenges, causing a slowdown in Restart's progress?
I think that's for you.
So, so the 29 million goal is not a Restart specific goal, right? Just to clarify, the 29 million goal is a broad AWS skills commitment globally. And so the Restart, we think about programs. First of all, we have, at Amazon we have a saying, be stubborn on the strategy, flexible on the tactics. We have an objective of making cloud a democratizing force. As part of that, we have some really big goals around awareness, and making cloud and cloud awareness. And the 29 million goal is really about awareness and trying to make sure that cloud becomes, as I said, ubiquitous, and we make sure that anyone who wants to build on cloud can build on cloud. And then, in addition to that, obviously, then we have a series of programs that are more targeted, which is looking like, for example, what Restart is, which is really tackling the workforce issue in terms of the skills available at the, I guess I would call the bottom of the cloud skills pyramid, how we think about it. And I think what's great about this program is, and we alluded to some of it earlier, is that we don't just measure the total number of graduates. What we measure is, we measure the intake, we measure the graduates, we measure how many of the graduates get jobs, we measure how many of them stay in jobs beyond the first 12 months. And we're trying to measure how many of what are we doing to uplift the number of available cloud practitioners in the marketplace today by country. That's the primary measure of that. So, so the 29 million one, no systemic barriers, on track, confident we'll hit that number. Restart specifically, more focused program as part of a broader set of objectives we're trying to drive.
Studies investigating the link between perceived ease of use regarding cloud tech and its influence to an employee's perceived usefulness revealed that if they find cloud computing easy to use, they are more open to learning how to use it because of its benefits. In your perspective, or organizations, especially the Philippines, taking this into consideration before running or for running reskilling or upskilling programs?
I didn't quite get the first, so can you just repeat the first half of the question?
Yeah, when it comes to perceived ease of use regarding cloud tech.
Yeah. So I think a lot of organizations use cloud as a Trojan horse for workforce first cultural transformation. So if you think about cloud, the cloud is hugely transformative technology. As Andy Jassy said, it's the biggest technology shift in our lifetimes. I still believe that. Because the reason the cloud is because the beauty of cloud is it unlocks so many other innovations that never would have been possible pre-cloud. So if you think about the world today and the world 2006, so much of what's happened over the last 16 years just wouldn't have happened if cloud hadn't come about in the meantime. So cloud sometimes can be seen as maybe not all that sexy, but it's almost an underlying utility on everything that's happening in terms of technology change in the world today. And so I think that's an important thing. And then in terms of our organizations taking into account, I think absolutely. I think the most progressive forward-leaning organizations, and particularly realize that skills is a board and CEO agenda item, not so much a technology agenda item. And so a lot of the work that we do now, and I think the Philippines, I wouldn't be quite as hard on ourselves in terms of, I think the Philippines is quite forward-looking in my experience across ASEAN in terms of your overall willingness to embrace cloud and your willingness to see this as a change agent for overall cultural transformation. But look at Globe as the best example. You know, clearly Ernest saw the cloud as a way to change the way the organization thinks and works. Of course, there was technology savings and cost savings around, you know, getting out of Oracle workloads and moving their OSS and BSS to the cloud and moving their data lake to the cloud, and et cetera, et cetera. You know, and I'm not diminishing any of those technology benefits, but the primary reason was to change the way the organization thinks and works. And then if you look at things like Gcash and Maya, what they're trying to do now in this whole health tech space, you know, all of this ventures program that they have where they're trying to create new lines of business and become a digital lifestyle company and a diversified organization beyond the telco. Like the cloud was really just an enabler for that cultural transformation. I think if you think of Union Bank, what they're doing, very, very similar playbook, you know, and I think a lot of the most progressive organizations, whether it's DBS in Singapore or Techcom Bank in Vietnam, you know, or Petronas in Malaysia, all of those executives at the top table see cloud as a change agent around transforming the culture of the organization.
Aside from cloud migration and cloud architecture design, can you share which advanced cloud skills will be the most in demand by 2025?
I think we got some of these earlier, right? So again, as you said, right, cloud is just an enabler, and getting workloads onto the cloud through migration is really only the first step in this reinvention journey. And I think, you know, really data science and AI are the two areas that we're seeing, I guess, most demand. If you look at what we're trying to democratize AI, and we have these really powerful machine learning instances that are for really hands-on, deep machine learning enthusiasts. Then we have SageMaker, then we have these API services that are very focused on specific machine learning outcomes. And we're trying to democratize that, but again, I think machine learning, AI, I think particularly in this part of the world, is an area that is going through some sense of growth.